Friend of mine brought up in the group chat my first car that I owned. Talk about your first car that you ever owned, what that meant to you, the energy it gave you. How did you get it? Did you earn it? Did you buy it? Did your parents help you out with it? You know, was it a new car? Was it a gutter car? Was it a used one? You know, my first car that I got was a 1995 Dodge Stratus. I drive a Dodge Stratus. Remember that SNL skit, Will Ferrell? Burgundy red. That car represented freedom, and especially since I was living in Oklahoma at the time, not in Chicago, you have to have a car. Otherwise, you're stuck in the sticks. I drove up to Norman, Oklahoma. This was probably 2001. Went to the Best Buy in Norman, Oklahoma, bought myself a Sony stereo player to put in the car. 1995, it was only a cassette player. And then I bought 2 subwoofers. Everybody had to have subs, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. Put those in the back of the Stratus, riding through the rural country town, banging. And you know, the CD I bought when we were at Best Buy, I bought the system, had it installed, waited around, they got it done in a few hours. You know, I'm only 16 years old. I'm doing this just whatever. And bought the new Project Pat, Mr. Don't Play album. Oh my goodness. Do you remember the first CD you played when you had a little system in your car? You had your own little car, and the first out CD that you bought and you played bumping in that car nonstop, man, Project Pat was ahead of his time. Shout out Project Pat. Whenever there was a break in school, spring break or Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, I immediately, as soon as the bell rung in high school, I had my bags packed. I drove straight back to Chicago for all my breaks to go visit all my friends and spend holidays with them. That car meant I can travel across state. I go through Missouri and Springfield, Illinois, and take Interstate 44 up and hit 55 in Illinois, and next thing I know, I'm on Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, or 294, about to hit the boys spot. Driving all night too. I'll do it in 9 hours straight. You know, I was 16 back then. I could take that beating and still party when I arrived. Yeah, there was one night I went up, Winter Storm got the best of me. I wrecked her beyond repair and I had to let her go. My dad said, no more, you're driving all the gutter vehicles I got. For the rest of my high school, like sophomore year, junior year, I had to drive like a beat up cargo van that was black, and like you would definitely steal kids, you know, lure them in with candy and kidnap them. It was, but I took it with pride. We did some pranks with that van. I would just drive anything that was available. Had an old 94 box Jeep Cherokee I used to drive around. Fuel pump went out on that. He had an old 76 Monte Carlo with a, you know, candy painted red, you know, and with a white leather top on it, and I would swing that thing around. Big swings, big turns. I was a senior in high school getting ready to graduate and not go to college. He bought me a brand new Nissan Xterra, and that thing lasted a long time, boy. Took that out to West Texas when I worked on oil rigs, and took that everywhere, to Chicago. A lot of people remember that, but the first car I ever had was a 95 Dodge Stratus, and that gave me the wheels to move around and escape, and just, it was a beautiful thing. So just wanted to present that to you, a little nostalgic hit. Tell me a little bit about your first car, who bought it for you, you know, what that meant to you, the tunes you used to bump in it. You know, this was back when we would burn CDs and make our own playlists and stuff like that. It was a beautiful, beautiful time, beautiful era. What was the first car you ever had?
I had a, excuse me, I had a 94 Jeep Cherokee. It was black. It had a little bit of leather interior, like a little bit of sunroof. It was awesome. You know, that was a real good feeling. You know, you get that independent feeling. I mean, I was a little later. I didn't get a car till I was 18. I didn't get a license till I was 18, so I wasn't 16, but it was 18, and it just felt like you were like certified. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was something that would get you attention. That was something that gets you out wherever you want to go, whenever you want to go. I mean, it was a beautiful feeling. Yeah, I remember having a nice stereo system. I remember having a couple subs. It didn't last very long though.
Right.
Because my first car was stolen from me.
Mm-hmm.
I had parked it outside my guy's house, and we came out after like a game of like MLB or something, the show, and it was gone. And like, yeah, they stole my car and they stripped it down, and it was a real rude awakening to the realities of the city.
Yeah. I never had a car stolen, but I have wrecked a car beyond repair. And you were with me for that one time. We were visiting Chicago. The day was perfect. It was a beautiful day. We went to the Harlem and Irving Mall, and the weather was fine, right? And
it was cold. I know, because it was December-ish. It was around Christmas.
Right. It was cold, but there wasn't a winter storm yet. But we were in the mall. We were in the mall for like a couple hours, and when we came out of the mall, the weather changed tremendously. Temperature dropped. It had rain. It snowed. It was slush on the ground. All that stuff. We took off driving.
Forest Preserve Drive, man.
Forest Preserve Drive. You know it better than I do. But we were just cruising. We were going around a little bend there, and next thing I know, I look up, and there's a whole string of cars just, brakes on, sitting at the light, and I'm like, oh shit. I tapped on the brake, or I stomped on the brake at the time, and hit a patch of black ice or whatever, and we just slid, dude. We probably slid for a good 30 yards, right? We knew it was coming.
Yeah, we had a second to adjust, where it was like, oh man, we're gonna hit. Like, you could tell. So it was like, brace yourself for impact. We weren't going super fast.
Nah.
There wasn't an injury situation really.
Nah.
But like, it was fast enough where like the damage was gonna be bad. And it was.
Yeah, I mean, we were probably going about 30, 35, if that. But the slide, once you start sliding, it don't matter. There's nothing you can do. I tried to yank the wheel to pop the curb and run into that little patch of land that was to the side there, and nothing catch. Couldn't get no traction, and we slammed right into the other car, and I think the other car in front of us slammed into the car in front of them, and somebody took off driving because they didn't have the proper paperwork or something, and then we were just left there kind of in shock. And it was like the weather was still coming down at us. It was cold as fuck. Music was playing. It was just a wild thing. And like, cops didn't show up for like 20-25 minutes. Some weird insurance guy ran up on us. Hey, you need help, blah, blah, blah,
We were young.
We were young.
We were young at the time.
I had to get my own.
I remember having to ditch the weed.
We might have been riding dirty. We may have.
It was like, oh, you gotta get rid of that.
Statute of limitations.
It wasn't active. We weren't actively participating, but it was in the area.
We had to ditch it, but we learned from that. Uncle Randy had to come and pick me up, and that call to my dad that night wasn't fun, but and I was telling the people that from that point on, my dad said, you're driving whatever beat up car that's sitting around the house. So